So for the today's class, we will discuss regarding the various classifications of the building. So all these classifications are based on the National Building Code. The National Building Code is prepared to unify the building regulations throughout the country, and this is prepared by the Bureau of the Indian Standards and is applicable for all the areas or the places inside the country. The first version of the National Building Code is published in 1970, and this was later revised in 1983. Later, this edition again revised to the current one 2016. So, in line with the National Building Code, the Kerala is also having its own called Kerala Building Rule. So, the Kerala Building Rule is based on the National Building Code, which is adapted to the situations or the conditions in Kerala state. So if there is no provisions available in the Kerala Building Code, one should refer to the National Building Code. So the building is mainly classified into different groups, like based on the occupancy, there are residential, this group A, educational, group B, institutional, then assembly buildings, business buildings, mercantile buildings, industrial buildings, storage, and hazardous building. The group A is the residential building. So we can define as the buildings in which sleeping accommodation provided for normal residential purposes with or without cooking or dining or both facilities except any building classified under the group C. So generally these are the buildings which are intended to live. Similarly, we have the group B, which is the educational buildings. These buildings are used for school, college, other training institutions for daycare purposes, involving assembly for instruction, education, or recreation for not less than 20 students. And the residential accommodation provided in the school or institution will be classified as a subdivision of A. That means the previous one, residential buildings. In the group C, we are having the institutional buildings. So, as a definition, any building or part thereof which is used for purposes such as medical or other treatment or care of persons suffering from physical or mental illness, disease or infirmity, cares of infants, aged persons, and for penal or correctional detention in which the liberty of the inmates are restricted. So this constitutes the institutional buildings. Then we have the group D, which is called as the assembly buildings. Any building or a part of building where the number of persons is not less than 50 congregate or gather for amusement, recreation, social, religious, patriotic, civil, travel, and similar purposes. So, for any assembly, any can be any reason for religious or social purposes. If a gathering is more than 50, then it can be treated as an assembly building. Example: theaters, assembly hall, museums, gymnasiums, restaurants, places for worship, etc. In the case of Group E, the business buildings, Any building or part of a building used for transaction of business other than that covered by building in group F, which will be coming after this one, for keeping accounts and records and similar purposes. Like it can be a barber shop, beauty parlor are included in this group. So, n type of business activities are happening in these type of buildings. Okay. Group F is also similar to the group E, in which group F is the mercantile buildings. So the difference is that any building or part of a building used as shops, stores, market for display and sale of merchandise, either wholesale or retail. So especially shops and stores market, which is having the stock with them and the delivering, they're called as a mercantile building. And by service providing type of buildings are business buildings. In the group G, we are having the industrial buildings, very clear. Any building or part of a building or structure in which products or materials of all kinds and properties are fabricated, assembled, manufactured, and processed. So something is for made for industrial needs in this type of buildings. Assembly plants, industrial laboratories, dry cleaning plants, power plants, sorry, power plant generating units, pumping stations, fumigation chambers, laundries, building or structures in gas plants, etc. comes under the industrial buildings. So the group H belongs to the storage buildings. So this is the buildings just intended only for the storage. No manufacturing is happening here. Any building or a part of building used primarily for the storage or sheltering, including servicing, processing, or repairing incidental storage of goods, wares, and or merchandise, except those involve highly combustible or explosive products, because those comes under the hazardous building. It is storing some very risky items. So the common examples include warehouses, cold storage, grain elevators, transit sheds, storehouse, garage hangars, etc. In the case of Group J, it is similar to the Group H of storage, but here the risk items are stored. They are used for the storage, handling, manufacture, or processing of highly combustible explosive materials. They are liable to burn with extreme rapidity and which may produce poisonous fumes or explosions for storage, handling, manufacturing, or processing, which involve highly corrosive, toxic alkalis, acids, or other liquids, or chemically producing flames, fumes, and explosives, poisons, irritant, or corrosive gases. So basically, the risk or very hazardous materials are stored in these type of buildings. And we have the subdivisions for these various groups. That means for the group A, residential building, it is subdivided to A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. So residential for where the people can sleep. So it comes under A1 is lodging or rooming houses. A2 is one or two family dwellings. A3 is the dormitory. A4 is the apartment. And A5 is the hotel. Similarly, the group B educational can be subdivided into the building used for colleges, schools, daycare purpose, involving assembly for instructions, education, etc. Similarly, the institutional buildings where the freedom of inmates are restricted, they are subdivided to C1, C2, C3. C1 is for the hospitals and the sanatoria. C2 is for the homes for aged orphans, etc. Which for they need more care. And C3 for the social, antisocial elements, like for the prisons and the mental hospitals who need more care. And the group D assembly, it is classified into D1, D2, D3. D1 is for the theaters with fixed seats for more than 1,000 persons. D2 theaters with fixed seats for less than 1,000 persons. D3 halls with capacity to hold more than 300 persons but with no permanent seating removed. Similarly, the group D assembly buildings, they are subdivided to the continued. So the previous one was assembly. So continuing to D4 and D5. D4 is the halls for less than 300 persons but with no permanent seating, and D5 all other assembly buildings not covered above. And for group E, we have the business E1, E2, E3, where E1 is the office, bank, professional establishments for doctors, engineers, lawyers, etc. So I told this is like the service providing type of base. That means the thing is stored here like in shops, but they are providing to do some business. E2 is for the laboratories and the research. E3 is for the computer installations. Similarly, we have the group F mercantile buildings. They are subdivided to F1 and F2. F1 is the shops, stores, markets with area up to 500 meters square with storage of incidental to sales. F2, the underground shopping centers, departmental stores with area more than 500 meters square with storage and services incidental to sales. So basically, depends on the area. They're classified into F1 and F2. For the group G, that is industrial buildings, they are classified G1, G2, G3. G1 is buildings for low hazard, G2 for moderate hazard, and G3 for the high hazard. And we have two more group H classification and the I classification. For the H storage buildings, they are generally used for storage of sheltering of goods, vehicles, animals, etc. Warehouses, grain stores, garages, stables, etc. So the various subdivisions comes under storage buildings. And for the hazardous building, we have the usage of storage, so used for storage, handling, manufacturing, and processing of very corrosive, toxic, inflammable, explosive materials. So, what are the various factors affecting the selection of site of buildings? First, and the main important one is the purpose of the building. So, if the if a person is wish to make a residential building, the main thing is that it should be very near to the town and it should have some good families staying around him. So first one and the important one is the purpose of the building. If it is some industry also, then it should be very near to the airport or even rails or even waterways. So that's the first and foremost thing. So the site should be selected keeping in view of the general scope or the purpose of the building on the basis of estate or privacy required. Then a friendly neighborhood in the case of very important for the residential building. The site should be situated in locality which is already fully developed or which is fast developing. To secure happy living conditions, generally such neighborhood is preferred where the neighbors belong to an equal status in society and who should be social and friendly. Then the available facilities which we have. The plot should be in locality where the various facilities as mentioned below are available. So we should think of where a police and fire protection is nearby, and there is proper way of clearing the waste and for the street cleaning availability of the utility services such as water supply, gas, electricity, and drainage, and the amenities like schools, hospitals, libraries, recreation, telephone should be within the small distance, and the shopping facilities and the various means of transportation. And there are some government laws also which affects the selection of site for the buildings, like a site which comes within the limits of an area where the bylaws of the local authority enforce restrictions regarding proportions of plots to be built up, vacant spaces to be the left in front of on the right side. That means for like the NH and state highways and for the village roads, it differs in the setback required to build something away from the road. So depends on the uh, setback. You have to plan the building. The other things include shape and size. That is, area of the plot of the land should be such that the house constructed keeping in the view restrictions of the local authority. That means built-up area has to be in line with the Panchayat rule or the Kerala building rule, and it should be preferably with possibilities of future extensions. The site should not be irregular in shape or having any sharp corners. Terrain condition we are all preferring to the level surface. Site should be situated on a elevated place, and also because other if it's not elevated then there may be water logging issues, and it should be also leveled with uniform slopes from one end to the other so as to provide good and quick drainage of rainwater. Other important thing is the type of ground soil. The ground soil of the site should be good enough to provide economical foundations for the endangered building without causing problems. Generally, for most satisfactory constructions, the site should have rock, sand, or dense soil below 60 to 120 centimeter layer of light soil or even the black cotton soil. Otherwise, it will be having more cost for the foundations. The proper study is not available below the ground. The eighth point is the natural light and air. Location of the site should be such as to ensure unobstructed natural light and air. Uh, the ninth point is the environmental condition. The site should be available in a locality where natural beauty and man-made environment create healthy living and working conditions. Environment also affected by nearest factories, kiln, etc. So these things also need to be considered. 10th point is the legal and financial aspects. Area of the plot of land should be such that the house constructed keeping in view the restrictions of the local authority would meet the requirements of the owner, preferably with possibilities of future extensions. Other factors like a site should be abandoned under adverse circumstances such as unhealthy, noisy, or crowd localities, immediate neighborhood or rivers carrying heavy floods, badly maintained drains, reclaimed soils, or waterlogged areas subject to submergence or settlement, and industrial vicinity having smoke and obnoxious odors has to be avoided. So we will stop the class for today.